Thank you so much, Dr. Yang, for that very warm introduction. So hello, everyone. I'm Yu Cheng. So today, I want to talk about some of our efforts regarding precision medicine in the past few years. And I want to talk about cancer genomics. And what you might be wondering at first is that what are these cloud and interdisciplinary mean in the context of my talk. I just want to use 2 slides to sort of let you know what I want to talk about, sort of a take-home message. So basically, we're trying to build a cloud computing system that stores and processes human genomic data. And as you can see, this project involves both the biology side of people and also the engineering side of expertise. That's why it's inherently interdisciplinary. We need medical professionals, software engineers, and as I will explain later, that data scientists and bioinformaticians are really important to bring the 2 kinds of people together. So let me start my talk. It's going to be 3 short sections. The first is cancer genomics, and then I'm going to talk about cloud computing, and then I'm going to close up with some interdisciplinary thoughts. So let me start from the basics. What is cancer? Well, we know that it's a disease mostly caused by mutations. And the tricky thing about cancer is that although on the surface they look very similar, but actually they're quite different. Different patients may possess different biomarkers or mutated genes. And these genes can make our treatment very hard. And the problem is, because they're different, sometimes you treat the patients with the same kind of drug. Some of them just don't work. For example, like this drug A doesn't work on this patient, while drug B might not work on another patient. Well, of course, this is a big problem. The problem is one size does not fit all. And luckily, in recent years, we might have a solution for this. Here you can see this is Moore's law, the drop in price in chip making. And here you can see the price of sequencing cost has dropped so dramatically that now it only costs around a few $100 to sequence a whole human genome. And what this means is that now it is totally possible that we can use those sequencing machines to detect what are the biomarkers, and these biomarkers can in turn inform us what are the right drugs to be used. Okay. So this paradigm is something we often refer to as precision medicine. We're trying to subtype the patients and treat them accordingly, according to their genetic background. Well, of course, it's not that easy. What these sequencing machines give us are these very hard to understand gibberish DNA sequences. And what we have to do is to use something called high performance computing, or very complex algorithms, in order to sort of compute and detect the correct biomarkers to let us know what are the drugs to be used. Now I'm going to move on to the next short section, cloud computing. And here I want to raise your attention to this high performance. We really need a lot of computing power in order to do this. Well, it might not be a problem when you have, say, 2 or 3 samples or 10 samples, but it becomes a very big problem when you have many patients waiting in line in order to be analyzed. And in the old days, what we had to do is to use a big, powerful machine to process these patients one by one as fast as possible. But it turns out that it is still too slow, no matter how fast that machine is, because you have too many data. And this is also the problem of big data. You need a lot of computing power. So if one machine is not enough, how are we going to do? We're going to use many machines. Simple, right? So basically, we don't own these machines because they're too expensive and too hard to maintain. We rent them when we have the need, when there's a demand from cloud platforms like Microsoft or Google. And basically, the paradigm of our work is every day we wake up in the morning, try to code on our laptop, and push these code to the cloud computing system. Sometimes we call this process deployment. And it's a very complex process, which I won't get into the details. All you want to know is that we push the code and data into many machines on the cloud. Now, this is basically the cloud computing system that I was referring to at the beginning of my talk. Many machines working in the cloud, computing very fast and very securely in a private cloud environment. And finally, I want to close my talk with some interdisciplinary perspectives. As I mentioned earlier, that this project is inherently interdisciplinary. We need medical professionals, doctors, surgeons, nurses. And we also need a software engineer. Well, what we used to do is to bring these two people together, let them talk in a room. But the problem is that it's very hard for them to talk because it's like a Venn diagram that doesn't overlap. That's why it's very important to have data scientists and bioinformaticians like us to involve in this kind of project. Because these people, they know like enough, but not very much on both sides, so that they can bridge the gap, right? And here at NYCU Dental School, we take care of, in terms of our data, we take care of the left side. And for the right-hand side, the software engineering side, we partnered with a company called AT Genomics. Actually, Dr. In Hong Lin, the next speaker, is from AT Genomics. He will be talking about more technical details. So we paired with them to partner with them to build our cloud computing system. And basically, we're in charge of the software side, and they're in charge of like deploying our software and data into the cloud system and managing securely and very swiftly of our data. Of course, AT Genomics is a good company, otherwise we won't collaborate with them. They have a lot of like certificates on security, data security, like ISO standards. And on the bioinformatics software side, we have version control software all hosted on GitHub, like industry standard, that's how we do things. And for the cloud computing side, with the help from AT Genomics, they deploy our system on the Microsoft Azure platform. And here you can see systematic sample IDs that we designed. And it's really important to have a very systematic way of naming those samples, because in that way we can collect a lot of samples and scale it to many, like hundreds of samples. And finally, I just want to give you an update of recent progress, research progress that I think it's worth mentioning. So some of you might have known this Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. It's located in New York. They developed an open source platform, a web architecture called cBioPortal. And basically, because it's open source, it's freely available, right? We can clone that website, an empty website. And then we also collected the genomic and clinical or genomic data from our oral cancer patients from 2 hospitals. So basically, we did a hard-working job to transform that data into a format that can be injected or imported into the website. And here's the result. You can see the URLs. It's cbio.sod.nycu.edu.tw. And it's loading. And here you can see our study, 2022, head and neck squamous cell carcinoma. And basically, we want to do some pathway analysis. This is the famous P53 pathway. And we can select the samples. And here you can see, not surprisingly, P53 is the most mutated gene out of the 11 samples that we have collected so far. You can see exact hotspot mutations of the P53 gene. I want to say that all of these, you don't need to write any code to do this. You just use mouse to click it, and you get the results. And then this pathway analysis. And just a fun fact, I look at the worldwide distribution of cBioPortal instances. And here you can see we have nothing here in Taiwan. So I think this is probably the first cBioPortal website in Taiwan. And with that, I'd like to thank all of our teams. I want to say that this project would not be possible with every single one of the people shown here. And thank you so much.